Today we discussed about third cranial nerve, fourth cranial nerve, and sixth oculomotor, trochlear, and abducens nerve. We will start from first cranial nerve, that is third cranial nerve. It has two nuclei, somatomotor nucleus and visceromotor nucleus. Other name for visceromotor nucleus is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. It is present in the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. The output from somatomotor and visceromotor, that is Edinger-Westphal nucleus, will go towards the tegmentum, then crus cerebri, passing through the red nucleus and Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and coming from the sulci called oculomotor sulci, and it will pass from this crus cerebri towards the cavernous sinus, passing in between the two arteries. First one is posterior cerebral artery, another one is inferior arteries, superior cerebellar artery. Between these two arteries, this oculomotor nerve will pass and go towards the cavernous sinus, and in the cavernous sinus it runs above the trochlear nerve in the lateral wall of cavernous sinus, and in cavernous sinus it will go forward and downward, and just after the cavernous sinus the oculomotor nerve divides into superior branch and inferior branch called superior ramus or inferior ramus. Superior ramus is a shorter one and inferior ramus, inferior branch, is a larger one. And the superior branch and inferior branch will go towards the orbit, passing through superior orbital fissure from the center. Superior orbital fissure also divided into three parts: lateral part, middle part, inferior part, based on circle of Zinn, a tendinous ring made by in the bony structure, which gives the origin to our extraocular muscles. Passing from the superior orbital fissure, the superior branch or superior ramus of oculomotor nerve will innervate upper two muscles of eyes called superior rectus muscle and lateral palpebral superioris muscle. And inferior branch, which is the longer one, of trochlear nerve, which will innervate medial rectus muscle, inferior oblique muscle, inferior rectus muscle. And the nerve which is coming from visceromotor nerve or Edinger-Westphal nucleus, it will go upwards, superficially. This the topography of oculomotor nerve is also specific. Superior part of this oculomotor nerve is maintained by this Edinger-Westphal nuclear fibers, and inferior part is maintained by this somatomotor fibers. It will give some clinical features in future. The Edinger-Westphal nucleus will make at the end a ganglion called ciliary ganglion, from where the short ciliary nerve emerges, around 8 to 16 in number. Short ciliary nerve will innervate two types of intraocular muscles. One is sphincter papillae muscle and other is ciliaris muscle. If sphincter papillae muscle is stimulated, pupil will be constricted. If the ciliaris muscles are stimulated, then it will give the lens a globular shape, which will be helpful in near vision. And if there is a damage in third cranial nerve, as we know the physiology, we must understand the pathology. And if the third nerve is damaged, first of all diplopia will happen because there is no coordination of muscles. Then external strabismus, you can see it in the patient's ptosis, you can feel it, you can see it, because the upper eyelid will be drooped down. Drooping of upper eyelid is called ptosis, and ptosis muscle called lateral palpebral superioris, which helps us to elevate our upper eyelid, to open our eyes, and this muscle is innervated by oculomotor nerve. Then loss of near vision, because for near vision we need this ciliaris muscle to contract, and the third nerve is damaged and there is no activity in ciliaris muscle and there is no near vision, it is not possible. Then we have fixed dilated pupils. Why? Because third cranial nerve also innervates the sphincter papillae muscles. So there will be no constriction of pupils and pupil will be dilated permanently. Then there is a loss of light reflex. Because we know when we put a light on a patient, then at a response, the pupil will constrict due to constrictor papillae muscles, and there is constrictor papillae muscles are innervated by oculomotor nerve, and if the oculomotor nerve is damaged, then there is no constriction of pupil. And there is no light reflex. Then if we talk about fourth cranial nerve, it is present at the level of inferior colliculus. if you talk about the other structure, there is a pretectal nucleus also, and medial lemniscus, and superior cerebellum peduncles, middle, cerebral aqueduct. And if we talk about the internuclei, as we discussed in third cranial nerve, there are 4 internuclei. First is pretectal nucleus, like the nuclei of the third cranial nerve have connection with other nuclei in the brain. First of all, pretectal nucleus, which is helpful in light reflex. Other connection of these third cranial nerve nuclei to the pyramidal pathway, both pyramidal tract, which are helpful in supranuclear pathway. Third internuclei connections are with medial longitudinal bundle, which connects third cranial nerve, fourth cranial nerve, sixth and eighth cranial nerve, which are helpful in our coordination of eye-ball movements. And fourth, this tectobulbar tract, which are very helpful in visuoprotective reflex. But fourth cranial nerve also have these internuclei, except the fourth one, tectobulbar tract, because fourth cranial nerve have nothing to do with visuoprotective reflex. Then fourth cranial nerve is most slender cranial nerve, and it is the only cranial nerve which comes from the dorsum of the brain. It goes backward, then it will go forward. Ancient time we say that it have a connection with pineal gland, but with the passage of time, pineal gland is also called rudimentary eye. After that, the fourth cranial nerve will go forward again, and it will go towards the cavernous sinus. And it will, passing from the cavernous sinus, it will take a place of lateral wall of cavernous sinus, inferior to oculomotor nerve and superior to ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. And trochlear nerve will pass at the lateral wall of cavernous sinus. It will go towards the lateral side of superior orbital fissure, and it will innervate only one nucleus called superior oblique muscle. As we know, our mnemonic are LR6SO4. It means lateral rectus muscle is innervated by sixth cranial nerve, and superior oblique muscle is innervated by fourth cranial nerve. Rest of all the intraocular or extraocular muscles are innervated by third cranial nerve. And then if there is fourth cranial nerve is damaged, then there will be diplopia at on going downstairs, because the function of superior oblique muscle is down and out. But if this fourth cranial nerve is damaged, then the patient will feel diplopia while going downstairs. And then we have sixth cranial nerve, which is present at the lower pons at pontomedullary junctions. The other structure present in pons are seventh cranial nerve, which make a loop with the nuclei of sixth cranial nerve. There is a vestibular nucleus. There is in the pons we have principal pontine nucleus also present, and rest of nuclei are also present. But we are talking about abducens nerve, which comes from pontomedullary junction. It will go upward. It also passes from cavernous sinus, but in the cavity of the cavernous sinus. At the lateral wall of, if we talk about the content of cavernous sinus, there are 4 structures which passes from the lateral wall of cavernous sinus, and the 2 structures which are present, or which maintain or present at the cavity of the cavernous sinus. There is a mnemonic I told you, O-tone cat. From the lateral wall, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve, and maxillary division of trigeminal nerve will go, and cavity, carotid artery, internal carotid artery, and abducens nerve. Then this abducens nerve will go within the cavity of the cavernous sinus along with the internal carotid. So suppose this is the internal carotid artery going upward. This abducens nerve will go upside towards the superior orbital fissure, and it goes towards this side. This is the location of sixth cranial nerve. This is the upper branch of third cranial nerve, lower branch of third cranial nerve. Here we have fourth cranial nerve is passing from here. The sixth cranial nerve, that the abducens nerve will pass the superior orbital fissure, going to the orbital orbit, and it will innervate lateral rectus only. As I told you, LR6SO4, lateral rectus by sixth cranial nerve. If we talk about cavernous sinus, cavernous sinus is the only structure in the body, dural sinus, which is having arterial structure. If we talk about its size, it's about 1 to 2 centimeter, 1 by 2 centimeter, and it is present. We talk about topography. The medial to cavernous sinus we have scala testica, lateral to cavernous sinus we have temporal bone, inferior to cavernous sinus we have we have petrous part of temporal bone, superior to cavernous sinus we have optic chiasma, anterior to cavernous sinus we have orbits, especially the superior orbital fissure, and posterior we have petrous part of temporal bone. Then yes, there are few things also passing from this cavernous sinus are veins, because it is a true dural venous sinus. So it gets blood drainage from superior ophthalmic vein, inferior ophthalmic vein, superficial middle cerebral veins, inferior cerebral vein, emissary veins, and deep facial veins. It gets input from these veins, and it will go towards the internal jugular vein via two sinuses called superior petrosal sinus and inferior petrosal sinus. Superior petrosal sinus and inferior petrosal sinus drain into internal jugular veins via sinus called sigmoidal sinus. And other things, that is conjugate, horizontal conjugate movement of eyeball, medial longitudinal fasciculus. If you ask a patient to look at his right side, then what will happen? First of all, from the left frontal eye field, Brodmann area, these fibers will go towards the contralateral paramedian pontine reticular formation, that is pontine gaze center. Okay, from right side is PPR, paramedian pontine reticular formation. Your pupil will go towards the abducens nuclei of the ipsilateral side, and from there are two output will be there. First of all, towards the ipsilateral abducens nerve towards the lateral rectus, and contralateral medial longitudinal fasciculus. Then from the left medial longitudinal fasciculus, ipsilaterally fiber will go toward the third plane nerve nuclei, and ipsilaterally oculomotor nerve will innervate medial rectus. The patient or the person will look at it at his right side. That is about horizontal gaze of eyeball. And if we talk about the pathology we already discussed, then if sixth cranial nerve is damaged, then there will be pseudotosis. We discussed about these things. The patient cannot abduct his eyes. Okay, before this, we have few movements. Like if we talk about movement of one eyeball, then the term called dection we use. If one eyeball moves towards the lateral, it's called abduction. If that eyeball moves towards the nose, it's called adduction. If it elevates or it's called supraduction or sursumduction. If downward movement of the eyeball, that is called infraduction of dorsumduction. Duction for one eyeball movement. Then version for second two eyeballs movement. If we look at my right side, it is called dextroversion. If I look at my left side, it is called levoversion. If I elevate my eyeballs, supraversion. And if I depress my eyeball, that is called infraversions. Then we have third one, if two eyeballs, they move in equal and opposite direction, that is called vergence. Convergence and divergence, like this. This is called convergence. Two eyeballs move same but opposite sides, that is the convergence, and that is divergence. Okay, last but not the least, we have a few clinical features. Okay, if we ask a patient to look at his right side, this is the primary thing. But if the patient cannot see by looking, by asking doctor ask a patient to look at his right side, the right eye will remain same at same position, but left eye obeys the command means, then there will be problem at that is sixth cranial nerve, abducens nerve, because that nerve is damaged. That is why patient cannot, the right eye cannot see at the right side. And if we ask the patient, same patient, other patient to look at his right side, then both eyes will remain same. That will mean there is a damage at the sixth cranial nerve nucleus here, because from here right and left these output will go on. And the other patient, if the right eye follows the command but left eye remains same, it means there is the left medial longitudinal fasciculus is damaged. Other clinical features are internal nuclear ophthalmoplegia. And differential diagnosis of internal nuclear ophthalmoplegia or medial longitudinal fascicular damage to the third cranial nerve palsy is convergence. In third cranial nerve palsy, convergence is negative, but here internuclear ophthalmoplegia, medial longitudinal fasciculus, convergence is positive. Then we have a fourth patient. If a doctor asks the patient to look at his right side, and both eyes remain at same position, then there will be damage. It means there will be damage at the ipsilateral or left sided. Sorry, that respective paramedian pontine reticular formation is damaged. And then the last patient is asked to look at his right side, but in spite of looking right side, his eyeballs start, drifting towards the left side or opposite side. Which means it indicates there is a problem at the frontal eye field. So that was about today's class.